So the believer doesn't fear anyone except the fear of sinning, to sin, to do something wrong. That's a fear. The fear to be unjust, the fear to fail yourself, and to fail the expectations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What Allah expects of you, you should do. You should be afraid if you miss a prayer. You should be afraid so much so that you don't miss a prayer. And this is what faith is. We should fear Allah that we do not wrong anyone. We shouldn't hit each other. We shouldn't hate each other. We should love each other. We should live together. We should respect our parents and teachers and elders. We should be kind to our younger brothers and sisters. This is the way to live as a Muslim. So we should not fear anyone but Allah. Does this mean that Allah is scary? Well, what we fear actually is not that Allah is unpredictable, like your fear of a lion or a snake or any of Allah's creations that we fear. But we fear lest we make Allah unhappy or unpleased with us. So we are afraid of our own actions, okay? And we fear His anger but His anger is not unpredictable. You can predict that if you do something wrong, Allah will not be pleased with you, okay? If you disobey your parents, your teachers, if you don't do your homework, if you don't study Quran, if you don't love your brothers and sisters, if you do not behave yourself well as much as you know, then you will make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala displeased with you. But I want to explain something here, that because we are children, I mean you are children, because you are children, at that age, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a license to make you learn from your experience. What is this license? The license is Allah will continue to forgive you as long as you keep correcting your mistakes. Okay? And as children, I hope that everybody is correcting their mistakes. Meaning, if I do something wrong, I go back to mom, to dad, I go back to Allah, and I say, oh Allah, I made a mistake when I did this, or I made a mistake when I didn't do that which I needed to do, and I ask for your forgiveness. And I promise not to do it again. And you should promise Allah, and you should promise yourself not to do the same wrong mistake again. And if you repeat the mistake again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still waiting for you to come back and make the correction. Come back to Allah and ask Him for forgiveness again and again and again and again. Okay? And when you grow older, you continue that system, the system of asking Allah for forgiveness and learning from your mistake. Okay? So this is the fear that we have when we say that we fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we fear making Him displeased with us, unhappy with us. Okay? But as we mentioned, Allah is always ready to receive us. So Allah sent Moses. And this is ayah number 17 Surah An-Nazi'at, Surah number 79, for those who have just joined us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Moses, go to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Certainly, he has crossed all limits. Pharaoh crossed all limits. Allah knew because he hears and he sees everything. He knew that Pharaoh is a transgressor, an aggressive person, a disbeliever. He thinks of himself as God, or he claims to be God. All of these are awful, awful things. So Allah sends Moses and tells him, اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. Go to Fir'aun because he crossed all the limits. فقل هل لك إلى أن تزكى. And tell him, would you try to purify yourself, which means the sins of disbelief. And how does a person purify himself, cleans himself of shirk and disbelief and associating partners with Allah or worshipping anyone other than Allah? The person purifies himself or herself by becoming a believer. What if the person is a believer? How can he purify himself or herself? By cleaning himself and his actions and his ideas and thoughts from anything wrong. So you clean your ideas from anything wrong, and this will help you clean your actions and your intentions from anything wrong. This is in Arabic called tazkiyah, purification of myself. وَأَهْدِيَكَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَتَخْشَىٰ. And so tell him, do you want to purify yourself, O Pharaoh? And do you want me to guide you to your Lord so that you should fear him? And Moses showed him the big sign, a sign that Pharaoh has not seen before. He showed a miracle. What was Moses' miracle? Moses had a stick that he used to lead or help his sheep graze in the land. Okay, so he would guide them to where the grass is. And this stick, when Moses met Allah, Allah asked him, when he went to the bush at the right side of Mount Sinai, as we mentioned earlier. So Allah told him, what is this in your right hand, O Moses? وَمَا تِلْكَ بِيَمِينِكَ يَا مُوسَى قَالَ هِيَ عَصَايَ. This is my stick, Moses said. This is my stick. This is my staff. قال هي عصاي أتوكأ عليها. I lean on it, which means when I walk, I use it to lean on. Okay? وأهش بها على غنمي. And I push my sheep in the direction I like. وَلِيَ فِيهَا مَآرِبُ أُخْرَى. And I have other benefits that I use it for. And it may be, he didn't list all of these benefits, but it may be self-defense. It may be scaring dogs or animals coming at him in the valley or in the mountain. So he had certain things. So he told Allah that this is what the stick is used for. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, ألقها يا موسى. Throw your stick to the floor, O Moses. فألقاها. So Moses threw the stick on the ground. فإذا هي حية تسعى. And immediately it turned into a living serpent, a living snake It's very scary. It is very scary. Mind you, that this dialogue between Allah and Moses was happening at night. And at night in the desert, as we mentioned, it is cold. So Moses was already afraid. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turned the stick into a snake, Moses was very, very scared at that time. Because a snake in the dark at night, it's really scary, right? And when the snake starts to run and move very fast, it is scary. So because he becomes or it becomes unpredictable. You don't know if the snake is going to jump or is going to bite or is going to spray some poison in your face. Snakes are dangerous creatures. So when he saw it running like crazy, he said, he ran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, خُذْهَا وَلَا تَخَفْ. Take it and don't be afraid. Can you imagine? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Moses to hold a running snake, and the snake is very scary. And Moses is afraid. And Allah told him, خُذْهَا وَلَا تَخَفْ. Take it and fear not. Very amazing. And Moses held the snake and it became back into a stick in Moses' hand. Amazing. Amazing. So Allah turned the stick into a snake and he brought the snake back into a stick. سَنُعِيدُهَا سِيرَتَهَا الْأُولَى. خُذْهَا وَلَا تَخَفْ. Take it and don't be afraid. We will return it back to what it was. The snake was what? It was a stick. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Moses, take the snake, we will turn it into a stick. Don't be afraid. So Moses took it and it became a snake in his hand. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing to this part of the story, saying, فَأَرَاهُ Moses, he met Pharaoh. Pharaoh told him, bring me a sign, bring me a proof, if you have any proof. قال إن كنت جئت بآية فأتي بها إن كنت من الصادقين. Pharaoh is challenging Moses. When Moses went to him and told him, do you want to purify yourself? Do you want to cleanse yourself? Do you want to clean your heart and mind and be clean and righteous? Do you want to come back and I guide you to Allah so that you may become a believer? And Pharaoh said, bring me your sign, bring me your evidence. Do you have anything if you are really truthful? So Pharaoh is acting very arrogant. He's very proud. He doesn't fear Allah. He doesn't believe in Allah. And because of his constant lying, he believed himself to be God because people made him feel like God. When he told them to worship him, they worshiped him. They prostrated to him. They bowed down to him. They praised him. And this is how we people make normal human beings into gods. This is something that Allah does not like. So Pharaoh told Moses, bring me a sign. Ayah number 20, Surah Al-Nazi'at, فَأَرَاهُ الْآيَةَ الْكُبْرَى. So Moses showed him the great sign, the great miracle. What is the great sign? فَأَلْقَى عَصَاهُ فَإِذَا هِيَ ثُعْبَانٌ مُبِينٌ. He did what Allah told him to do when he met Allah the first time. I want you to understand, when I say when he met Allah, don't go with your imagination that it's a meeting between two kind of like people. No, this is Allah is invisible to the human eye. You cannot see Allah because Allah is not a person. But meeting here means that he went where Allah called him and he heard Allah and he spoke to Allah and Allah spoke to him. This is what I mean by meeting, by talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when he met Pharaoh, he used the experiment and the experience he had with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with his stick, and he threw it and it became a snake. His stick became a snake, and he put his hands under his arm and he took it out and it became free from any skin disease because he had something in his hand like leprosy or something, and Allah cleared it for him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cleared it for him. Okay? So that happened in his meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he did the same thing with Pharaoh because he was known to have some skin disease and everybody knew that. So he threw the stick, it became a snake, and he put his hands under his arm and he got it out and he showed it to people and it was clear. These are the miracles that Musa used to convince Pharaoh that he is sent by Allah, because those miracles could not be done by anybody, not even the magicians. So what did Pharaoh do? Ayah number 21, فَكَذَّبَ وَعَصَى. Pharaoh disbelieved Moses and belied him. He told them, you're lying. This is a lie. Okay? And this is magic. We are going to bring real magicians to come and challenge you. It's an amazing story of confrontation between truth and falsehood, righteousness and wickedness, good and evil, right and wrong. Moses was good, was right, was righteous, and Pharaoh was evil and wicked. So Pharaoh belied Moses. He told him, you're lying. And he disobeyed him. He didn't want to believe. And what else did Pharaoh do? ثُمَّ أَدْبَرَ يَسْعَى. He gave Moses his back and he went to bring his people and his magicians and his business people and his supporters, and he called the village and the town and everybody who has been following him, everybody who believed in him. So, ثُمَّ أَدْبَرَ يَسْعَى, excuse me. So he turned his back to Moses and he strove hard against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was now in the mood of plotting something against Moses. فَحَشَرَ فَنَادَى. He gathered his people and cried aloud, people, come on. You see this man that I raised as a child in my palace, this young man who is short and is not respected, he's claiming that he is sent by God. Do you have any God? Pharaoh was very, very arrogant. He was very full of himself. He was a strong-built man and an iron fist man, and he was, as we mentioned earlier, a tyrant, somebody who is oppressive and aggressive and violent. So he gathered people and he declared himself, saying, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. I am your Lord, the highest. أَنَا رَبُّكُمْ al-A'la. Can you believe a human being claiming that he is the Lord of the world, the Lord of the universe? A human being, which means a very poor, needy creature. You know that a little virus like corona or flu can put somebody, no matter how strong they may be, can put them to bed. It can kill them. A virus, which is not even a living microbe, it is a virus. So when this man claims to be God, this is insane. This is unusual. So فأخذه الله نكال الآخرة والأولى. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seized him with his punishment for his last life. Because Pharaoh was lying and was claiming to be, I am your Lord, the Most High. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala held him and dragged him, running after Moses and his community. Pharaoh had a large army of chariots, horsemen, and they were running after Moses and his communities. Men, women, and children were running with Moses. Pharaoh and his soldiers were running after them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Moses when he was face to face with the sea, the Red Sea, and behind him were the army and Pharaoh, and he was very afraid. His people said, we are seized, we are caught. There is no escape, there is no way out. The sea is ahead of us, and the soldiers and the army are behind us, and Pharaoh, where are we going to go, Moses? And Moses said, no, Allah is with me and he will guide me. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, use your stick, Musa, and hit the sea. And the sea got split into two big, huge mountains of water. And they could see the sea bed, the sea floor in front of them. And the water is turning on the right and the left into huge mountains, two sides, two mountains of water. And Moses and his community started to walk on the bed of the sea because Allah split the sea for them when he ordered Moses to hit the sea with the stick, and Moses did. The sea started splitting very quickly. The water was going higher and higher. It became like a mountain on this side and a mountain to his left side, and the floor of the sea was clear without water in the middle in front of Moses and his community. فأخذه الله نكال الآخرة والأولى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took him out and punished him because Pharaoh, as we all know, was drowned when he tried to follow Moses and his community. He thought that the sea water will continue to stay on the side until Pharaoh and his community would cross, as Moses crossed to the other side to Mount Sinai or to the Sinai Peninsula. So after Moses crossed, Pharaoh arrived to the shores and he found the seabed open for him. So he entered, running after Moses and his community with his horses and horsemen and soldiers and officers and everybody. And after they went in the middle of the sea, the water returned back from being a mountain on each side to become a connected sea from both sides. It started to come down. And Pharaoh and his community were drowned. All of them. They were drowned. They were dead. فأخذه الله نكال الآخرة والأولى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took him into death by drowning, which is a very difficult. And ayah number 26, which will be our last ayah for today, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَعِبْرَةً لِمَنْ يَخْشَى. In this, certainly, there is, what is there? There is a lesson for those who would fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh, I'm glad that you started to put your questions. Let us try to take some of those questions. Anonymous says, who was with Musa at the time Allah was speaking to him? I know Harun, his brother, was there, but I don't know of anyone else of Moses' family. Well, you will read the details of the story in Surah Al-Qasas. I urge you, Anonymous, and everybody, to use your mom or dad's help to go to Surah Al-Qasas, the stories, or the tales. Okay, in Surah Al-Qasas, it's a long story, but I will get you the part. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فلما قضى موسى الأجل سار بأهله. When Moses fulfilled his contract with his father-in-law, he left with his family, with his wife. And when he left from the village that he worked for 10 years, he saw in the desert a fire, okay? And he went towards the fire. He told his wife, stay here, and I will go to see what is around and behind this fire. Maybe I can get you something to give you some warmth in the cold night. And when he went by himself. So when he met Allah, he was by himself, because he sat his wife at a spot and he left her by herself and he went by himself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it was not, Harun was not with him, his mother was not with him, his wife was not with him when he spoke to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, thank you, Anonymous. Arwa says, if you are thinking of something bad, will it count against you or be a bad deed? No, my dear. When you think of something bad, ideas are a test. Our ideas are a test. What do I mean by this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a mind that can think about anything, can imagine anything. And He never designed our brain to be limited as to our imaginations, our thoughts. We are free to imagine and think of anything. But good brains that are trained well, they only think about good things to do, good things to learn, good things to develop, to make good things happen, okay? So if you are thinking of something bad, that means this idea is not from a good source. It is from the shaitan, because the shaitan is the source of bad ideas, bad thoughts, bad behavior, okay? And will Allah count it against you? Allah does not count our ideas against us, even bad ideas, but He urges us not to think bad, not to think bad of each other, not to think of bad things to do, because the shaitan will come and keep whispering to us bad things until one day we do what Satan whispers to us. So we should always fight back against bad ideas, and that's what the Quran tells us. When bad ideas come to you, seek refuge in Allah. فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ. Say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Okay? So Arwa, the answer is no, bad ideas are not counted against us unless we turn a bad idea into a bad action. But when we get bad ideas, we should think to do the opposite, always, because bad ideas are bad for us. So when the shaitan tells you, don't pray, or you are by yourself, don't make all the wudu, it is too difficult. Just wash your face and go. And if mom tells you you made wudu, say yes. And then make salah without wudu. When you make salah without wudu, this salah is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. So bad ideas help the shaitan deceive us and tempt us, okay, and persuade us to do what is wrong. So what should I do when I get a bad idea? The shaitan tells me, don't do all the wudu. I say, I will do all the wudu, right? The shaitan tells me, okay, pray 2 rak'ah and tell mom that you prayed 4 rak'ah dhuhr. I should say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, and I pray 4 rak'ah of dhuhr. Okay? So when I get a bad idea, I should do the opposite. Okay? This is how we defeat the shaitan. Very good question, Arwa and Anonymous. Okay, Omar is saying, why would Allah scare his prophet? Very good question, Omar. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not trying to scare his prophet. He was trying to show him his power. But the fact that he showed him his power was something in which Allah turned a stick into a snake. That fact itself is scary. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not mean to scare Moses, and that's why he calmed him. And he told him, لا خذها ولا تخف. Take it and don't be afraid. So if Allah wanted to scare him, he would have left him scared. But no, Allah didn't want him to be scared. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to show him his power, because he was going to use the same power in the form of a miracle in front of Pharaoh and his people and his magicians, and this miracle will defeat all the tricks of Pharaoh and his magicians. Again, very good question, Omar. I hope you understood what I said. Okay, Anonymous comes with another question again. He says, how can we believe this story besides Quran? Well, instead of asking this question, Anonymous, you should ask, how do we believe this story? Okay? That's it. Because the Quran is the ultimate source of truth. So you don't say besides the Quran. Besides the Quran, you don't need any more source of evidence. Why? Because the Quran is kept as is from the date that the angel Jibreel gave it to the Prophet ﷺ as a revelation from Allah. From that day on until the Quran was put together, which was 23 years of revelation, the Quran was memorized and kept in the hearts and in the pages written by people. And it stayed the same. There is no other book, even the books that were given to Moses and or revealed to Moses and revealed to Isa, these books were not put to documentation until hundreds of years after Moses, and for Isa, several tens of years after Isa. It is said about 65 is the minimum number of years between documenting the revelation that was given to Isa and the date it was started to be documented. And it was lost. It was lost. And then it was discovered way centuries later on. But the Quran was never lost. The Quran was never in need of review. The Quran was never in need of corrections. The Quran is as is since it was written. So the Quran is really the ultimate source that brings the ultimate evidence and proofs. So it really doesn't need evidence, okay? So the answer to your question is that how can we believe this story? If you believe the Quran, you believe the stories told in the Quran. And we can talk about what evidence do we have to prove that the Quran is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, I want to give you this as an assignment, Anonymous, and everybody listening, to look into any source of evidence that you can lay hands on. Go in on the internet and ask the question, how do we know that the Quran is from Allah? And you will find lots of resources that can help you, okay? I hope you don't do this by yourself, but do it with your mom and dad sitting next to you. And maybe next time we can take the whole session just to answer those types of questions, inshallah. Okay, Arwa is saying thank you, Arwa. You have been a pleasure, you and everybody else. Is this the last question that we have? We have only a few minutes to go, so I urge you, if you have questions, please write them down right now. If you have no questions, please write down no questions. That's it. Can I see you writing? No questions. Also, I want you, everybody, to tell me if you will promise to get somebody of your friends to join us next time. If you love what you hear, if you learn by attending those sessions, please write down, I will invite somebody next time. Because you love your friends, you love your relatives, invite your friends and relatives to attend. Okay? So now we will stop here at ayah number 27, and inshallah next time it will be ayah number 28. Okay. Thank you, Anonymous. Thank you, Arwa, for contribution and participation. Also, I want to thank Hani Awad. Thank you, Hani. He says no questions. Okay. Also, I want to thank Arwa. Arwa said, inshallah, she will invite a friend. Thank you, Arwa. And Hani Awad also says, Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the Quran in our heart and shine the Quran in our heart. Thank you very much, my dear. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.